Hello, my name is John Becerra, and this is my wife, Tina. And I think it's important that my wife is here because this disease is a family one. Our daughters were very affected by it, and so it's something that my wife is living with, as am I. In December, it'll be 3 years. I believe December 4th was the day I had my surgery. It wasn't a planned one. It was my experience was about 2 weeks before my surgery. I was exercising and I had a very intense pain in my heart, and it lasted about 20 or 30 seconds. And at that point, after it was over, I stood up and I went and looked in a mirror. I wasn't sure if I had a heart attack. There was no strange feeling in my left arm. None of the classic signs were there. So and I had my annual physical the year before, and my family doctor, he had me on the treadmill for 15 minutes, maximum speed and elevation, and he couldn't get my heart rate up. And he says, "You have a heart of an athlete." So I knew it couldn't be my heart. This couldn't be a problem with my heart. And I work out every day. I exercise every day. And so that it passed, and I just continued with my life as usual. And this was around Thanksgiving, and I started to get really tired. And so I went and saw my doctor, and he did a chest X-ray. And my heart was enlarged somewhat. And so he wanted me to see a cardiologist, which couldn't see me for a week. So it was on Thanksgiving dinner. We were with some friends, and I went to go outside to get some slippers or something to change my shoes. And I walked back in, and I was exhausted. And so I went that next Monday. This was Thursday. So I went Monday or Tuesday to see the cardiologist. And he tried to get blood pressure readings on my left arm, and he tried 3 times, could not get a blood pressure reading. And he looked at me and says, "Does this happen often?" And I said, "No, it was the first time I had experienced this." And he had me do an echo, looked at it, he said, "There's the flap, there it is." And he looked at me and said, "You'll be in open heart surgery, about 2 hours you'll be in open heart surgery." And it took me aback, and I said, "I have my daughter's basketball game in 2 hours, so I don't think can I go there?" And he said, "No, you're leaving right now." And it was kind of funny because I was in Encino, and it was Friday about 2 in the afternoon, and he just told me to drive to Cedars, and my wife was going to drive me, and I said, "I'm going to drive. I don't want to be too nervous." So I drove instead of her, and they put me in, and because the doctors had left for the weekend, they said, "Well, we're just going to kind of keep you static, and then we'll have the operation on Monday," which I was good. I still didn't realize what was going on with me, and then Monday came, and there was a emergency heart and lung transplant, I believe. And so I didn't want to have a surgery after the doctors had been in for 13 or 14 hours in surgery. So we were going to wait till Tuesday. And Monday evening, I told my wife I won't make it another day. I was running down. I could tell I was winding down. And they took me in the next morning. And it's interesting, just saying goodbye to your kids and your wife. I had great faith that I was going to be okay. I never questioned that I wasn't going to come out, but it's scary for my family, and that's where that gets interesting. They were scared. They told don't do anything that's going to get your dad, excited. And my youngest one, she was I think 15 or 14, and she just kind of collapses and starts sobbing, as I'm getting wheeled away, and so off I go. And I remember going to the operating room and looking around, and these are my last words if I wouldn't have made it out was, "God, they got a lot of flat screen TVs in this room," And I'm looking around, and that was it. That's all I remember. And the surgery, everything went well. I was walking the next day. They had me up and moving, and it gave me a new appreciation for life. The one thing I got out of this that sticks with me so much is that we all know that we're going to die. Everybody knows we're going to die, but nobody believes it. Everybody, you kind of know it, but you don't really believe it. And I believe it, and it gives me that great appreciation for life, and that's a great gift for me. And I had a great 6 months. I was very appreciative and a lot of gratitude, and then I got hit with a depression, and I had a very serious depression after, because I saw my life as all the things I couldn't do. There was so many things. I've lifted weights all my life. All of a sudden I can't lift over 40 pounds. I got my kids carrying in my dog food. I'm at the store, and all my girls are carrying stuff, and I'm not carrying anything. And it was all ego for me, and I had to kind of let that go. And so I got very depressed. And I believe I actually went on some antidepressant medicine at that time. And I talked to Dr. Racy about it, and he said, John, he goes, you have to concentrate on what you can do, not what you can't, because I wanted to go skydiving. And he said, no, you can't go skydiving. There's a lot more you can do than just skydiving. And then he said, stop dying and start living. And that changed it. When he said that, it changed how I looked at it. And that's when I started living again. And the experience has been interesting. I get pains, and I get pains in my heart, and it's interesting. And I wonder, is this it? I will just kind of wonder, and I'm not scared, and I don't get all panic stricken. I just wonder if this is when I'm going to die, and I don't know. And so I just try to live to the fullest every day, and I enjoy it. Well, I still exercise every day. Every day I exercise for an hour. I lift weights. I lift high reps. Just lightweight and really high reps. My life hasn't changed that much, but my appreciation for life has. My diagnosis was I have TAD. I'm not bicuspid. They replaced my aortic valve, and I had a pretty good sized aneurysm that dissected. And I had it for 2 weeks, I guess, from what I understand. I was working out every day. Still, I was one of those lucky ones. I think it was a 7.8 centimeters dissection. Well, my blood pressure, I've always had low blood pressure, and so But my brother has this. He's been tested. He won't go back for another test. His is, I think, 4.5. I work on him and try to get him to go, and he doesn't. He's kind of in denial on it. It was a blessing. I had an uncle that died a number of years ago, and they thought it was a heart attack, and I know it wasn't. It was from this, and that if we would have known, I should be dead. That it didn't kill me was amazing. But it's an opportunity to live. So I want to pass it off to my wife.
Well, and just for a moment, I want to say that I think it's just all miracles. And John did walk around with, I guess the last time I said there were 5 layers, but there's 3 layers, I believe, of tissue, and 2 of the 3 had torn in his aorta, and that one hung on for this 10 days plus while he was on the Stairmaster working out, doing all these things. And then we got to a doctor who says, your heart's enlarged, and we ended up in the hands of Dr. Racy. So to me, we have just abundance of miracles. And when John, I'm so grateful he's alive, and that our daughters now, we can be preventative with them, so that if in case there is something, and that was another thing, was John had such a fear that he could just fall over one day. And Dr. Racy said, it won't be like that. If we're testing him and watching and that type of thing, then if something starts to happen, then maybe there'd be another surgery or something. So, we were against a lot of odds and had lots of angels on our side, in my opinion.